to laws, government agencies, and pressure groups that influence and limit various organizational and individuals in a given society. Business legislations has been enacted for a number of reasons. The first is to protect companies from each other. The second purpose of government regulation is to protect consumers from unfair business practices. The third purpose is to protect the interests of society against unrestrained business behavior. So these are major legislations in the US on society, on the macro environmental forces affecting marketing. Ghana is a young democracy, and they are yet to come up with these legislations. That's why I'm using this as an example. Please, I'm not going to ask you to write on any US legislation. Ghana is currently, I think we have the environmental protection. There are agencies in there, but they need some laws to help them to bite properly, right? For example, in the US, if you look at the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890, this prohibits monopolies and activities that restrain trade or competition in interstate commerce, right? So they have a lot more legislation than us, right? You come to the Philalee Act, makes deceptive, misleading, and unfair practices illegal and places advertising of food and drugs under FTC jurisdiction. So the Americans have a lot more, and Europeans have a lot more strict legislations. I pray that our parliamentarians will also, they're working smart, they're working hard, but there's so much to do, and they should be up to the task. It's not going to happen overnight, but gradually, I think we should be able to catch up in terms of the legislations. You know, for example, if you look at the Telephone Consumer Protection Act 1991, that's again under the US legislation. It establishes procedures to avoid unwanted telephone solicitations, right? So there are quite a number of legislations on the micro and macro environmental factors affecting a firm. Now let's look at socially responsible behavior. Of course, socially responsible firms actively seek out ways to protect the long-run interest of their consumers and the environment. Almost every aspect of marketing involves ethics and social responsibility issues. Therefore, companies are now developing policies, guidelines, and other responses to complex social responsibility issues. What about cause-related marketing? This pertains to the purview of marketing for non-profit organizations. Here, to exercise their social responsibility, building on the previous slide, and build more positive images, many companies are now linking themselves to worthwhile causes. And so cause-related marketing has become a primary form of corporate giving. Now, let's bring our minds to the local economy and try to come up with an example, perhaps, that will improve your understanding of cause-related marketing. It is very simple, but some of you might take it as abstract. Now, the Awake bottled water company has a collaboration with the Heart Foundation in Korle Bu. And so for every bottle of Awake water you buy, a percentage of the revenue generated goes straight to the Heart Foundation in Korle Bu. So the Heart Foundation collaboration with Awake Bottling Water Company, a corporate entity, a for business entity, is what is related to as cost-related marketing. It gives a positive brand image to Awake as being environmentally conscious or being concerned about the health of the citizenry, being concerned about issues relating to the heart. And that gives it a positive brand image, right? And while doing that, the Heart Foundation is also benefiting in terms of some revenue to, should I say, augment its cost. Now, this does not go without criticism. Critics worry that such cost-related marketing activities may be more of a strategy for selling than a strategy for giving. Thus, companies using cost-related marketing might find themselves walking in a fine line between increased sales and an improved image and charges of exploitation. What about the cultural environment? Of course, the cultural environment consists of institutions and other forces that affect a society's basic values, perceptions, preferences, and behaviors. It is important to note that society shapes basic beliefs and values. Cultural characteristics that can affect marketing decision-making are the persistence of cultural values and shifts in secondary cultural values, such as people's views of themselves, people's view of others, people's view of organizations, people's view of society, and people's view of nature, right? This is a procurement class. If we were to have marketing students here, they would have been taking a course known as consumer behavior. And then there's a theory, there's a chapter in there based on theory of the self, right? How you view yourself, how you view the world, how you view others, how you want others to view you, etc., right? But this is principles of marketing, so this should be okay. Now, how do we respond to the marketing environment? Many companies view the marketing environment as an uncontrollable element to which they must react and adapt. That's one school of thought. They passively accept the marketing environment and do not try to change it. Other companies take a proactive stance towards the marketing environment, meaning rather than assuming that strategic options are bounded by the current environment, these firms develop strategies to change the environment. These firms therefore take aggressive actions to affect the publics and forces in their marketing environment. Now, it is worthy of note that marketing management cannot always control environmental forces. In many cases, it must settle for simply watching and reacting to the environment. For example, a company would have little success trying to influence geographic population shifts or possibly the economic environment in terms of the, what's the name? The down cycles and the up cycles, right? Or major cultural values. But whenever possible, smart marketing managers take a proactive rather than a reactive approach to the marketing environment. So, to bring the curtain down, by now I expect you students to be able to describe the environmental forces that affect the company's ability to serve its customers. 2, I expect you to be able to explain how changes in the demographic and economic environments affect marketing decisions. Please, these are end of semester, likely end of semester essay questions for you to work on, right? 3rd, you should be able to identify the major trends in the firm's natural and technological environments. And last but not the least, by now, you should be able to explain the key changes in the political and cultural factor. And finally, you should be able to discuss how companies